In the days when Israel had no king, the land was full of chaos and lawlessness. Everyone did what they thought was right, and the people had strayed far from God's ways. In the midst of this darkness, a terrible story unfolded, a tale of betrayal, violence, and the moral decay of an entire nation. It begins with a Levite and his concubine. The Levite was a man from the hill country of Ephraim. He had taken a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah. Their relationship was troubled, filled with strife and tension. One day, the concubine left him and returned to her father's house in Bethlehem, staying there for 4 months. The Levite decided to bring her back. He saddled his donkey and journeyed to Bethlehem, hoping to reconcile with her. When he arrived, her father welcomed him warmly. The man was eager to mend the relationship between the Levite and his daughter. The Levite planned to leave quickly, but her father convinced him to stay for a few days. They ate, drank, and spent time together. Every morning, when the Levite prepared to leave, the father urged him to stay another day. Finally, after 5 days, the Levite decided he could not wait any longer. Though the day was already far spent, he set out with his concubine and servant as they traveled. The sun began to set. They approached a town called Gibeah, later known as Jerusalem. The servant suggested they stop for the night. "Let us turn into this city of the Jebusites and spend the night," he said, but the Levite refused. "We will not stay in a city of foreigners where there are no Israelites," he said. "Let us press on to Gibeah or Ramah." The group continued their journey as night fell, eventually reaching Gibeah, a town belonging to the tribe of Benjamin. They entered the town square, hoping someone would offer them a place to stay. In Israelite culture, hospitality was a sacred duty, but no one came forward to invite them in. They waited in the square until an old man, returning from his work in the fields, saw them. "Where are you going, and where have you come from?" the old man asked. The Levite explained their journey and added, "We have provisions for ourselves and our donkeys. We need nothing but a place to stay." The old man was troubled by the lack of hospitality from his fellow townspeople. "Come with me," he said. "Do not stay in the square." He brought the Levite, his concubine, and his servant to his home, providing food for their donkeys and ensuring they were comfortable. For a moment, it seemed they had found safety and peace as they ate and drank. Their brief peace was shattered. The men of Gibeah, wicked and corrupt, surrounded the house. They pounded on the door and shouted to the old man, "Bring out the man who came to your house so we can have our way with him." The old man stepped outside, horrified by their demands. "No, my friends," he pleaded, "do not do this wicked thing. This man is my guest. Do not commit such an outrage." Desperate to protect his guest, the old man offered a horrifying alternative. "Here is my virgin daughter and his concubine. I will bring them out to you. You can use them and do to them whatever you wish, but do not commit this outrage against this man." The Levite, without hesitation or protest, seized his concubine and forced her out into the mob. The men of Gibeah took her and assaulted her throughout the night. Her cries filled the darkness, but no one came to her aid. When morning came, the men released her. She stumbled back to the house and collapsed at the doorway, her hands clutching the threshold. The Levite woke the next morning and found his concubine lying at the door. He opened the door and coldly said, "Get up, let us go." But she did not respond. The woman was dead. Without any sign of grief or remorse, the Levite placed her lifeless body on his donkey and began the journey home. His silence was chilling, a testament to his indifference and the brokenness of his character. When he arrived at his home, the Levite did something shocking. He took a knife and cut the woman's body into 12 pieces. Each piece was sent to one of the tribes of Israel, along with a message describing the horror that had taken place in Gibeah. His gruesome act was intended to provoke outrage and unite the tribes against the perpetrators. When the tribes of Israel received the message, they were horrified. They gathered at Mizpah to confront the Levite and hear his account. "The men of Gibeah committed this atrocity," he said. "Give us justice for this crime." The tribes swore to punish the men of Gibeah. They sent messengers to the tribe of Benjamin, demanding that the guilty men be handed over. But the Benjamites refused to listen. Instead of seeking justice, they defended the men of Gibeah and prepared for war. The refusal of the Benjamites led to a devastating civil war. The tribes of Israel united against Benjamin, raising an army of 400,000 men. The tribe of Benjamin, though much smaller, gathered 26,000 warriors, including 700 elite soldiers skilled with slings. The first day of battle was fierce. The Benjamites, despite being outnumbered, inflicted heavy losses on Israel, killing 22,000 men. On the second day, they struck down another 18,000. The losses were staggering, and the tribes of Israel wept before the Lord, seeking his guidance. On the third day, Israel set an ambush. They lured the Benjamites out of their city, then attacked from behind. The battle turned, and the Benjamites were defeated. Only 600 men survived, fleeing to the wilderness. The rest of the tribe, men, women, and children, was wiped out. Gibeah was burned, and Benjamin was nearly erased from history after the war. The tribes of Israel realized the cost of their actions. They had brought an entire tribe to the brink of extinction. In their sorrow, they sought a way to preserve Benjamin. They devised a plan to provide wives for the surviving men, though their methods were questionable and further highlighted the moral chaos of the time. The story of Gibeah left a dark stain on Israel's history. It was a reminder of what happens when a nation turns away from God. In those days, there was no king in Israel, and everyone did what was right in their own eyes.